Welcome back to the Masters of Recon podcast, your top automotive refinishing podcast with your hosts, Corey Kleinfeld
and Ryan Brewer. Enjoy the show, everyone.
Welcome back to the Masters of Recon podcast. Today we have a live podcast with so far 0 guests. So come on, guys. We are with the founder of MobileTech which was acquired by Repairify in 2021. And now Eric holds a very similar, if not exactly the same position inside of Repairify and is the VP of products and the managing director of MobileTech. And he's here to answer all of your questions that you either have live or the list of questions that we have written down from everybody on our Facebook posts. Welcome to the show, Eric.
Thanks for having me, Corey.
You're welcome. And Ryan. Thanks for coming to the Masters of Recon podcast. Today is the first of 12 podcasts we'll be doing throughout the year in conjunction with MobileTech. Basically, some of the problems that people have voiced about MobileTech will be today. And then as we go on, we're going to have some of the amazing updates that MobileTech is releasing in the coming months. So
and some stuff they have already that we don't utilize. We're going to get into all that.
Absolutely. Yep. So Eric, if you want to start by saying hi to everybody that doesn't know who you are, I'm sure a lot of people do. And then we will go down the list of concerns, let's say, that some of your clients have.
Yeah. If I haven't met you at a trade show or chatted with you before or spoken on one of the Facebook groups in the past, I'm Eric Garves. I used to be a dent tech, so I got my start fixing dents in 2007 here in Austin, Texas, and I had a dent repair company with my partner Damon Simmons, and so we fixed dents in the Austin area, just doing route work for a number of years. I fixed dents for probably about 10 years before transitioning into MobileTech full time. And so the two of us, Damon and I, started MobileTech, basically, wanting to create something, from the perspective of the dent technician for the dent repair, industry. And so that resonated with everybody. Had a bunch of novel ideas that we put out there, and I was able to transition fully into the software side, around 2018-ish, something like that. So there was a time period there when I ran both businesses, and I would answer the phone. I had like 4 different ringtones based on whether it was a personal one or my wife or the dent repair company or MobileTech. And
That's
so,
awesome.
Early adopters will remember some tech support calls where you would actually hear the dent, people hammering dents in the background.
I personally remember that.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah, for sure.
So those were crazy times. And so I'm, now I used to be very active in the repair forums because I was, a tech and kind of lived in there. Especially through that time period where you transition from the repair to the software, it was very active at that point. But nowadays I'm so heads down focused on the day in and day out of MobileTech, and especially, working on product, not just with MobileTech, but some of our sister companies. I'm not in those groups. And I can't be in there all day, every day. So I am aware that we get brought up often. If I'm tagged in something, I will gladly jump in there. I feel like we always have, kind of a reasonable response to something that I might read. So definitely excited to get on this show to try to address some of this, but also want to say, if you have anything you want to, talk about through MobileTech, if it's something support's not helping you with, like DM me on Facebook or friend request me anytime you want. Like I will gladly, address something myself or escalate something if I need to. So, if I'm not tagged in a post, I'm probably not going to hear about it. So not ignoring.
Yeah, you're just not searching it out. Yeah, I remember being very excited when MobileTech was originally released. For the guys that have been doing this for more than 10 years, you maybe had your own version of doing it, but I had at Dempro, we had a 3-page carbon copy, basically, where every single estimate or every single we didn't even do estimates. Wrote them on the back of business cards. That's a whole separate thing. Every single invoice, Brian's like, yep. Every single invoice that we did was written down on a carbon copy. For those of the super youngsters, that you wrote on the top page and it like imprinted onto the bottom pages, because some people actually don't know what carbon copies are. And then we had to keep those. And then every time someone needed an old invoice or whatever, and we had to take all that we gave it to my mom, who was our secretary at the time because she worked with my dad, and she had to input every single one of those into QuickBooks manually as a data entry. And so when Mobile Tech RX came out, we were very excited to use it just for the fact of tracking estimates. And that's how it started. I mean, there wasn't even like all these features that we have now, but tracking estimates, being able to look them up and getting rid of that data entry was amazing. And I do remember calling tech support and talking to you and Damon a few times with the, the patented, well, we're gonna fix that. Just the tapping in the background. Fun times. Humble beginnings, man. That's cool.
Yeah.
I love it. So since we don't have any live people coming to scream at you, we're gonna do it ourselves. So I made a Facebook post. Ryan did as well. We had a lot of questions that we're gonna basically answer publicly. Basically, the biggest concerns that we saw, we kind of accumulated them up and put them together, and we're gonna throw them out to you. And you either are gonna tell us that there's a way around it, there's something that's being worked on, what you can do, and then also if you like you said, reach out to you on Facebook, or if there's a way to talk to someone at support at Mobile Tech RX, maybe you could tell people that as well. So going forward, as Ryan and I see these issues come up on about Mobile Tech RX, we're going to point them to this episode and say the answer's in there. Go listen to it, So hopefully that'll help. And actually, before I get into that, if I do want to say like how this relationship started. Ryan and I feel like that we've put ourselves in a position where we're trying to be voices for the PDR community. And I know, Eric, you would love to talk to every single technician who has a problem, but that's not feasible in the real world. So what we're trying to do is be a go-between between you and the PDR technicians of the world. So what we want to do is flush out all these problems, let people know that someone is listening, that there is work, that people are working on it, and maybe even, quite frankly, maybe even try to give some context of how difficult or expensive, or how difficult it could be to run a tech company and create something from literally scratch. And so that's what we're going to do over the next 12 episodes. We've known each other for a long time. Eric, we've talked, we met at MTE in Florida, and we brought this idea up, had a few meetings about it. And here we are doing the 12 episodes, just trying to help the PDR industry, get better and help Mobile Tech RX, hear the voice of them. So that, I just wanted to get that out of the way real quick. Ryan, you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, so along with the PDR industry, I know that the Masters of Recon, we reach out to everybody in the recon industry. So it doesn't matter if you're just a wheel guy, tank guy, a painter. We just got one of our painters on with the mobile tech, and they were still using carbon copies, which is amazing to me.
That's impressive.
So it's not just the PDR industry; it's kind of every industry in the realm of recon, right?
Mm-hmm. True. Yeah.
So
perfect. All right. So concern number one that was brought up, and there's no particular order on this. No, they're not weighted. I don't have like this is the biggest problem and this is the smallest. This is just the order that I wrote them down in. So, several people talked about photos not uploading into Mobile Tech RX, or it being finicky, or them having to wait too long, or some other versions of that. So question number one, Eric.
Yeah, I've got a couple things I can say to this. Before I jump into the answer here, I wanted to add one more thing too.
Please.
And just say there's Facebook and the groups, and you have a lot of times the same people that are kind of tagging along to a comment that may come up that I've seen at least. And I just want to say it shouldn't be like representative of mobile tech across all of our user base. We have when we do our studies and do surveys, we have a largely happy user base. There's the people that are using it problem free and enjoying everything aren't going to be the folks that are really participating in some of these forums. And so just want to point it out there. Make sure that everyone knows there's another side to the coin here. And there's we had our biggest year ever last year as far as like growth, and so like we're still doing really well, and we do have a lot of people that are extremely happy. With that being said, Obviously there's some folks that are not. And so, yeah, let's go through all the feedback you got. And if we get anybody that joins that has additional things, or people think of something even afterwards, like I want to be as transparent as possible and like address as much of this as I can.
Mm-hmm. And there's no net loss of clients, obviously, if you had a large year last year.
Our net growth, every year we've grown.
Mm-hmm.
We lose, typical SaaS business, you will lose customers. It's called churn. You'll get new customers, and then you kind of have your net. What's the difference? And so we had the biggest net year last year than any year. We've been in business almost 10 years now.
And SaaS business being a software as a service business, essentially,
Correct.
which is basically like a CRM system or this. Basically, we're paying you a monthly fee to have software that gives a service to our business, essentially SaaS. And there's a lot, like probably way more SaaS people using that way more than they think they are in their life, but it's very, very big. And it is just
we
only
pay for a lot of SaaS services.
Yes, correct.
Tech,
right, correct. Yeah.
All perfect. Right, so photo upload. So I think there's two things to address here. One is Android versus iOS. So we actually have those have slightly different logic. Well, they're the same app with the same functionality. They are two different code bases, and because of that, there inevitably are nuances because we have different engineers that focus and specialize in Android versus Apple. And so Android, I saw this comment in your
my post,
people in your thread, and so I followed up, and it just like I thought, the folks that are having issues with photos loading is people that are using Android, and that's because the way that works is you upload a picture, and it needs to actually upload it to our servers before you can continue and do something else. So you're sitting there looking at a loading bar. In a perfect scenario, it's quick and snappy, and it's maybe like a second. But if you're having slow internet, or if you happen to have like a large image based on your camera settings, like it could take a while. And in like some extreme cases, it might take 30 seconds or longer, and you're sitting there dead in the water. You can't even back out. And so we're going to fix that. iOS does it differently. iOS uploads it in the background, and so you can rapid fire attach them. If they're not done uploading, you can go, finish your estimate, do whatever you want. And so that is something we're looking at, and we're looking at it like now. Like we operate whenever we have our product planning, we do it in 10-week cycles where we say, all right, what do we want to accomplish in the next 10 weeks? Let's get that queued up. Let's make sure we have the capacity for it. And so we do these planning cycles, and we're kicking another one off. We're doing the planning this week, actually. And so that's something I'm working with our product owner to have in this next cycle.
Nice.
Now, I want to say one more thing. This is a topic that I didn't see anybody mention on the thread, but I want to address it because I know some people are affected by this. So iOS, like I said, does it differently. It does it in the background. We've got some edge cases where it's upload, and it's usually related to like a poor signal again. Someone may be working in a shop that's got a metal roof or something to cause in an area far outside of town where you upload 20, 30 photos. And because, some of them do take a while you don't know it's uploading, but it's doing it in the background. There's some weird edge cases where when it uploads, it's actually overriding it to where you end up thinking you lost, some pictures, and it looks like you lost some pictures because of the order of operations and the way it does it. And we are able, if that does happen, our support team can roll it back and it's not actually lost. But sometimes you have bugs that are like, you can't recreate them. This is with any software company, and those are the hardest.
Any mechanical, take your car in too and be like, it's having this problem. They're like, I can't recreate it. I can't fix it. That's
exactly.
Great
analogy.
Yeah.
And so, but we've spent a lot of time recently, like putting in some extra logging and working with users that have seen this happen and we actually finally have something kind of narrowed down. And so that's more immediate here in the next, couple of weeks that we're going to be kind of implementing some of those things. So that's the photo thing, can kind of address. There's two things we're addressing: the speed for Android, and then potential photos overriding themselves for iOS. And so
nice. Two things I want to bring up now that we're getting into the questions. One is the cycles, how those work. You explained that to us last time on one of our private calls, so I want to ask that. But first, we asked the first question, and the answer it's not a dodge. It's the legit answer is that you're dealing with Android and you're dealing with Apple, and they're separate companies with their own ways that they do things and owned by different people in different countries potentially, and all the complications with that. But can you explain to people, just if you whatever you're willing to share that you just shared with us, like starting up a SaaS company or a tech company, how difficult it is to create from scratch, and like I think that some people think like if you're starting a small PDR company and you want to build a website, you can go and find a website, and it's the technology has been so good that now it looks easy where you can just drag and drop stuff and add pictures and add that. It makes it look really easy, but on the back end of that is all coded HTML, everything. And so, one, what's the difficulties of starting a tech company as far as outlay of money, raising money, potentially profitability, et cetera, and then talk about how you work in cycles for updates. And then we'll go back to the questions.
Yeah. So you're right. There's some software, some things you can do, like building your website, that it's kind of like it's this
It looks easy now.
And again, some of the early mobile tech websites I actually built myself using applications similar to what you're talking about.
Squarespace or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you do it once and you're pretty much done also. There's not this like upkeep unless you wanted to make a tweak or modification.
Sure. Yeah.
I think a lot of folks maybe assume that's the same with software. Like you build it and then it's done. And like, oh, if you want to improve it, you can optionally improve it. When the reality is building a software application like a mobile app, there isn't a way to drag and drop or let AI just create it for you. Like you do have to hire very smart and expensive people to do it for you. And so that wasn't me. I understand a little bit of code. I
Sure.
can kind of navigate it a little bit, but I can't write it. So you got to hire folks that make $150,000 to $250,000 a year that specialize in it. And you typically don't have someone who does everything. They're kind of like there's back end specialists that deal with all the stuff that you would never see, that deal with how you handle your data and server work. And then you have the front end folks who deal with the actual visual app that you're working on, and they're specialists for iOS, they're specialists for Android. You typically would need, starting out, at least one in each of the departments to kind of take on that work. And as you grow, if you want something done at a decent pace, you're going to have to hire additional people. And so you can very quickly get to the point where you're spending, millions of dollars a year just in salary to maintain and improve on your application. Like software is incredibly, incredibly expensive. And so initially we were naive and we thought, hey, maybe we'll have to spend, $50,000 to build this app. And then cool, we built an app, and then, let's do the math. If we can get X amount of users, look how much money we'll make. That's kind of what we thought at first. You get it, the reality.
That's awesome.
I think it was more like $100,000 to get a slightly usable version that was still nowhere near what we ended up, creating. So I don't even know. We've probably spent at least $10 million now on like building the software. It's kind of nuts. And we were not profitable for the longest time. Like we've been in business 10 years now. I think we finally turned a profit maybe like 3 years ago, or not even 3 years ago. And it just, you have to invest so much money. If you want to build kind of like best in class, stay ahead of the curve, keep adding to it, you've got to invest a lot of money. And so most software companies that have grown to like the size that we're at didn't just do it organically, because if you did it that way, it would take forever and you may never actually like hit the tipping point. And so we raised money back, this was probably 6-7 years ago. We raised some money through a venture capital with VC for short. And those people are there to just find businesses that they think are interesting, and they can give you money for to own as an investment. And so
and that's that's a very, very common thing. Me being from California, you're from Austin, two tech hubs, really, I would say. But venture capital is like basically the only way that a software company can exist now, because of how much they cost. No one's self-funding them or taking loans out from a bank for $10 million, and not being profitable is very, very common. There's most companies that you guys know that you use software as a service. Like I brought up Uber earlier. I don't know if they're profitable now, but I know a few years ago they were still not profitable, and they're a billion-dollar company and still adding things, Uber Eats and all this other stuff, and they're still not turning a profit. So very, very common for that. And I don't think people understand that. It just we live in such a world of technology that it feels like when you look at this app that you click on the buttons and you're like, all I'm just asking is that you make the pictures upload easier. It just seems like it's an easy thing, but in reality, changing the way the whole system works to make that work, plus your Android and Apple, different server, all that stuff, like it's everything. There's nothing, I can imagine that there's nothing that's just like a simple, oh, let me change this code real quick and it'll fix that and not screw up anything else. I can't imagine that's ever been the case. And you got to pay somebody 200 grand a year to have the ability to do that. It's impressive. Yeah.
It's wild. I mean, even if you're in if you wanted to like really expand a dead company and like think about franchising it.
No, I'm in the boat right now.
Probably going to need to go try to raise money.
I have to. Like I am in the spot right now, and we could talk about this. We're gonna have another live podcast tomorrow, reiterating this stuff, and I'll bring this up tomorrow. But there's two ways to do it. It's time, and I've said this a million times. You can spend two things: time or money. You can grow a PDR company slowly and surely over time without raising any money, and it would just take forever. Or if you have a concept that works and you can turn profit on every job and you can market and get an ROI on your marketing and all that stuff, now you just have to put more money into it to make it be bigger faster. That's it. There's two options. But yeah, I totally understand where you are. And I'll say thanks for taking the risk to do that, because I know it wasn't an easy thing to run a company PDR plus Mobile Tech RX for 7 years without turning a profit. But I love the app, so I appreciate someone willing to do that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
And after we raised money, that did allow us to grow pretty significantly, because you can now invest in all your different departments, and you can really
the right people
pedal to the metal on like the engineering work, and our feature set just exploded, and there's a bunch of good that came from it. Definitely, a lot of stress too. It was kind of crazy to go through that.
Sure.
Phase, but then at the end of the day, we did end up selling also to Repairify, which is in the automotive industry. But I never, I'm still doing the same thing I did from day one. I didn't just fully cash out either. More than the majority of the shares that I owned were actually rolled more than half into the new organization, and so I don't have any plans on Mobile Tech's my baby. I love it. That's all I've really known for the past 10 years. And I've got still a ton of like great ideas and ways to, change and improve. Some that we can talk about, some that I'll keep close to the chest, because they're kind of like, make us unique. But it's, I don't plan on making any changes anytime soon. So.
And you didn't sell and retire to a beach somewhere. Got it. Okay. That's good to know.
Correct. Yes.
Good to know.
I am, still stressed every day, in a good way, still staying busy.
Good.
I take less vacation now than I did when I was fixing dents. Like, I'm not just sitting retired with my head in the sand.
Not chilling. Good to know. All right. And then real quick too, let's talk about the cycles. I know everybody has an app store on their phone or the Android version. Whatever that is, probably the same thing, but every once in a while you get updates and update your phone. So I assume and you update the apps on there. I assume that's kind of what you're talking about. But you work in cycles where you have all these things that you're fixing, and then you basically, my thought process is you do it all on the back end that we can't see, and then every however many weeks you release an update and you update it, and then we get all those new features, and sometimes something breaks. I'm guessing.
So this will be a little explanation about how this like product engineering world and software typically operates. And this is pretty standard. It's been kind of like established as sort of like the most efficient organized way, or one of the most efficient organized ways to do it. Is like, instead of just kind of saying, oh, what do we want to do next? Cool, let's do this. And like, what do we need to do to make that happen? Going on to the next thing. It makes more sense to kind of plan it out in advance. But you can't plan too far in advance, because your priorities always change, your timetables end up changing, there's a lot of variables. And so kind of that 10-week window is a really good time. And so 10 weeks at a time, we'll get together like what we're doing this week, and we'll say, all right, what are we committing to doing? What's the order of priority for the next 10 weeks? So, 2.5 months, like, what are we going to do? And so we'll come up with a work that we want to do on the product side, which is design work, writing out requirements, everything that we would need to do to hand off stuff to our engineering team to actually go code. And so we'll work on that. And then at the end of that 10 weeks, that should give us all of the body of work that we can give to the engineering team. So the engineering team has a 10-week cycle where they actually like make improvements to the app. They do bug fixes, big features, small features, tech debt. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done just to kind of keep things humming that you wouldn't see as a user even. And so those 10-week cycles allow the product team to get ahead of the engineering team, and then to always have the engineering team doing something. Within those 10-week cycles, we have 2-week sprints. And so it gets broken down further where the engineering team will say, all right, in this sprint specifically, here's what we want to focus on and work on. And so anytime something's ready, anytime we're done with the feature, or if there's a group of bugs or whatever, they'll get released on the fly. So it doesn't have to wait till the end of the 2-week sprint, doesn't have to wait till the 10-week cycle. Those cycle times are just planning phases.
Interesting.
Budgeting our time and resources. And if there's ever a heat case bug, we don't have to wait. We can release that immediately, once it's fixed if we want to.
Interesting.
So
and this is typical of most of these apps? This is a typical cycle, you're saying?
Yeah. Once you get big enough to where you've kind of you have actually like a team and like people. Like there was an early day where I was designer and product, deciding what to do and working with one engineer, and like it's a lot easier to manage. But like as you get to where you've got thousands, we've got over 5,000 companies on the platform, and there's almost 7,000 technicians that are using it. And as you get to that scale, inevitably you have a bigger development team, and now you've got a couple dedicated designers, and and so as you get that team, you got to have more structure in place. And so that's where these kind of industry standard 10-week planning cycles and 2-week dev sprints.
Nice.
So you just kind of adopt what's worked for the rest of the industry.
Nice. Okay. All right. You want to go with the next one, Ryan? You made a list also.
Well, for just to go back to the photo situation, don't you have like almost a workaround for that where you can save the photos? There's an option to save the photos to your phone.
Yeah, you can always take pictures on your phone and then upload them that way. Like you don't have to upload it by taking a picture from your device, but you potentially could. I mean, the major issue, like with Android, for example, is the upload from your up into our server, and so that is still going to be problematic, even if you were taking the picture first, because it's.
But if you just know the photos you need, just back out of the app, go to your photo app on your phone, take the 10 photos. Damage photos, 4-corner, VIN, odometer, if you're making an insurance claim, whatever, or more for hail, obviously a bunch more photos. And then after that, upload them.
Yeah, I mean, it would be faster in the fact that you're not having to wait after each one. You're just kind of doing batch upload all at once.
Yeah. Also buy an iPhone and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a large majority of our user base is actually
Apple. Yeah. I mean, that's the majority, I think. Dang. That's crazy.
Talking about that, I think I have a question on there that I don't know if anybody asked it, but we kind of run into it a little bit. And it's talking about Android and Apple. But if you have the same username on your phone, you're logged into Mobile Tech on your phone, and then you're logged into it on your iPad, you can't go into the same estimate or invoice or anything in the future because you could lose the information. Not to say lose it, but you can call Mobile Tech and get it back. But it'll override it and zero everything out. I don't know. I'm sure other people have had that problem just because we have 6 to 8 people here. Even if you're logged into another username and 2 people are in the estimate at the same time, it could override it and lose it. Right. So it's just beware of that. I think that's a problem that I don't even know if it can be fixed, but just knowing, like, everybody here at the shop now knows to not be in the same thing, changing things at the same time. Right.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, we need to come up with a better way to solve that. Like so the reason that will happen is, like, imagine you go in and you create an estimate, you scan the VIN, and you get a phone call. So you have the iPad just sitting there, you go do whatever you need to do. In the meantime, someone comes up, sees on, they log in, they see the estimate created, so they go in and like, oh, let me go ahead and I'll kind of finish this. They write up the hell estimate, and then they back out. When you come back from your phone call, you pull up your iPad, it's not refreshing in real time. So you're still looking at your version that doesn't have anything
Right.
been scanned. And then you're like, oh, you did it already? Okay. And then you back out and you hit a save point. Well, now it's saving your version without anything on it. And that's a classic example of like an override. And so you think, what the heck, it cleared out on my data. And so we've, in a perfect world, if you've ever used like Google Docs or Google Sheets.
Yeah, it's constantly uploading.
That would be ideal. It's like, I'm not an engineer, but I know some of the technology. It's like socket technology that would allow you to do that. That would be changing like our structure to allow that, something that would be a major overhaul. Like, stop what you're doing, spend a year rewriting Mobile Tech RX to be able to do that. So because of that, we took the approach of, hey, let's just try to educate users. So if they call in support, we do have a way to look in our support tools and kind of validate, like, yep, user ID here was logged in, and the next save was from another user at 2 minutes later. Like, we can see everything we need to say that's what caused it. And so we try to say, hey, just be wary of, make sure you're not doing that. And, I think it's helpful, but you still have people that do it on accident. There's a constant influx of new users who have to be, so we've, part of like looking at all of these things that people are saying on Facebook recently is kind of saying like, hey, maybe our approach of just training people on it wasn't really the best. Like, we need to find a solution for that. So I think we've been talking about, not spending a year rewriting stuff, but like maybe there's a way we can at least warn you that someone else is in it and request permission or something to at least let you, make that decision and not just overriding. So we have a product owner now. I used to be kind of like, wearing a lot of different hats with mobile tech, and we now have someone dedicated. He's a badass who's just focused on product, and we're meeting often about things like this. And so there's something we're going to work in and discuss this. I mentioned 10-week planning cycles. This is something we're discussing this week for the next cycle as well. So
perfect.
Even though a lot of times there's overwriting, we could find a way, see in the logs to say, hey, it's technically user initiated. Like, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to find a solution for it that, obviously it's an issue, so we need to fix that.
Yeah, I like it. I like the option of if we're both in it and somebody else tries to get into that estimate, to be able to, you can hand it over to that person just by clicking a button, like something pops up. That's great.
Nice.
We'll think through different options. Like, whenever we put our heads together, we're usually able to come up with something slick and streamlined.
Yep.
There's going to be, it's not ideal because there's always going to be edge cases where there's going to be inevitably someone that complains that they got kicked out of something now when they shouldn't have, or there's never a way to make everybody happy all the time, but like, I know there's room for improvement there.
For sure. Beautiful. All right. Another one is inaccurate R&I times.
Yeah, I think there were several comments about that. And funny enough, we have a Mobile Tech RX like private group that we've created that is just for like feedback. We wanted it to be like really constructive criticism, and if anybody is listening to this, wants to be included in that, ping me. We're happy to add more folks to it. We've kept it kind of small intentionally. But we did a survey in that group about, like, this was a little while back, like, what are the features that everybody would want to see or improvements? And this was the number one, like better R&I times, more accurate R&I times. Like, this was far and away the highest voting feature. So I'll get, the kind of the story here is labor times is a really difficult resource to get a hold of, because you have Motor, who has these times, and then you've got Mitchell, who has their own times, and that's pretty much it. So there's two data sources really to get what you would consider like insurance approved times. They're all ultimately coming, from the manufacturer or from time studies, and going to a manufacturer and paying for this is just not on the table. These, it's not an option. They're not going to go put anything together for you. And if they did, it would be cost prohibitive and be an incredible price. And so ultimately, like, we've gone down the path with Motor and trying to get it, and we can't because they have an exclusive contract with CCC. And
They don't want to screw that up.
yeah, like they have the times, and Motor can license them, but not if you're an estimating system. If you were like another type of application, like I don't know an example, like something, not some sort of software that needed these times, but not for the purpose of creating estimates, you could get it. But for our use case, it's not available to us. And then, Mitchell's the other one. And I will say we have had conversations with both entities, and I'm not going to rule out that we won't be able to have some sort of licensing agreement in place to be able to solve this. So like, there was a point in time where I would have said, hey, it's probably just always going to be like this. But my current stance is never say never, because we actually are making some progress here. And this is going to be, if we crack this nut and we can offer like what you would consider accurate R&I times, it's going to be because of our relationships with our acquirer. So it'll be like a really positive thing that comes.
From Repairify
ourselves.
I don't know off the top of my head. The most expensive Mobile Tech RX plan is $199 a month. Is that right? Okay. And if you want most accurate R&I times, you can just simply sign up for CCC, which is twice as much per month, I believe.
And you have to sign I think minimum that we have is a 5-year contract. In most cases, you have to sign a contract for a certain amount of time. So you can't just you can't get CCC and then just shut it off. You're stuck you're bonded by a contract.
Yeah, maybe at least I haven't heard that. I've heard at least a year, prepaying a year or whatever. But so again, like Mobile Tech RX being I would say new software, especially compared to CCC, right? That's fair to say. Yeah. 10 years in CCC. I don't know how long CCC 1 has been around, but more than 10 years. More expensive, but also more built out, especially on the R&I side. So get what you pay for. And that's the most expensive Mobile Tech RX version. You can still use R&I for what it has preset in there on the cheaper one, which is way less. But again, like, that option is to get CCC, which is just a different application for a different use, and you can get R&I times, but it's just expensive, like you said.
But they're also different on those platforms. Like I've had Autotex, Mitchell, CCC, obviously Mobile Tech. Dude, they all run different R&I times. So the thing of saying like they're wrong R&I times is not correct. It's mainly just every software has their own way of figuring out what that time is. So the fact that we can change the R&I time in the mobile tech,
exactly. I mean,
that's the fix for it. And if you're writing for your personal shop, like for a retail customer, you can change the R&I times whatever you want. There's a lot of things in there that I know it takes more than an hour to take a certain thing off of a vehicle. You just change it to 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
And if you're rewriting for an insurance company, you have the insurance company's estimate. You can just plug in their R&I times. We have to do it with CCC whenever we're bonded to use that through the insurance company for direct repairs. But that is just what it is on every platform. It's not just Mobile Tech.
And there's as far as I know, there's no single answer of what R&I time is for this part on this year, make, model, trim package, etc. I think maybe there is. I don't know about it. Or maybe, like you said, Motor is the one that would be the source for that. But
whichever one the insurance company is.
Exactly. So it's relative anyways.
Yeah, there's occasions where you could have, plug in the time from CCC and they'll come back and say, hey, I need
oh, no, it's an hour less. Yeah.
Right.
So even if you're using CCC, well, if they're using CCC and you are, then I guess the times would match. That would be nice. But outside of that, it's just he said, she said. Damn near.
And also, our parts aren't totally generic. Like you're going to find a lot that are dead on.
Yeah,
match one of them because
I've seen it.
We don't just have generic times. Like we do have a database for every single year, make and model that allows us to customize all of the data for that particular year, make and model. And it's not the same for everyone. So like early days, we had done our research and we had industry experience and we tweaked it based on high end, low end car, truck, SUV, and then it got tweaked based on particular models. And so if we did get access to a source that would, we need to update, the hood on a Tundra, then we would feel confident we could apply it to all the Tundras. And so, and then occasionally there's ones that are, you have these outliers that have like a really high or low time that you wouldn't expect for a particular panel, and we've updated those. And so over the years, it has fine-tuned a little bit, and it truly might be different for different items for different vehicles. And so we do have a backup plan. Like if we can't secure a license for this, we have a new hire, relatively new hire that their job is purely to kind of like keep our data, our comparative pricing and all that stuff as up to date as possible. And so we've got a project there that's going to help fine tune it even further. So like that,
and that's what it takes, basically a dedicated employee just for that.
Yeah, and
that's crazy.
That's another thing. It used to be me, and
yeah,
just as you start taking on more and more tasks in your company,
you can't do all of them.
You can't. Yeah, some stuff has gotten, and that's been some of the complaints too. Is like, hey, we're paying $199, but like I'm not seeing, I feel like the newer cars don't have anything under comparative pricing or whatever, and so that's we heard you, and we made an extra hire just for that. And so that's as we are talking right now, there's somebody that's like updating data.
All right, there you go. Sweet. Love that.
And to bounce off of that, you also have access in the program to be able to use companies like DinOps. So whether you want a Mitchell estimate, Autotex, anything you want, they can write it for you. Their R&I times are going to be accurate, if you want to say that.
Maybe.
And then you have both copies. You have a mobile tech copy and you have the insurance approved copy, which would be whatever format you wanted in, right?
Correct.
Yeah, and that's called a rekey. Basically, there are options in there, and we will do entire episodes on what's inside the Mobile Taker X app that you're not even using. That'll definitely be on one of them. But yeah, for now, there is a way to do it. If you somewhat understand technology, you can find it. It's in there. It's not hard to find. Go click on the 3 line. Is it the 3 lines in the corner? I'm assuming.
Yeah, the little hamburger, and it says
click on the hamburger, and then go down the options and look through those. Just like tonight, when you're in bed, instead of Facebook or Instagram, TikTok, go through this and find out all the things you're missing. And then we'll talk about it in a few months, for sure. And so we'll parlay that from another issue that people had from R&I times to parts, which kind of go hand in hand. Parts looking up is a problem. Ordering through the app specifically is difficult. I personally, I don't run hailstorms, and I don't need to order parts for I don't know, 10 cars, 20 cars a day. So it's a little different for me, but I take the parts quote from the dealership, and then I manually input it. And that has served me well. I've never tried to order a part directly through Mobile Tech RX, but there you go, Eric.
Yeah. So we chat about parts ordering. So like that. Yeah. First off, that's like one of the differentiating features that we have is like we have connections with dealerships that sell OEM parts, and through that you can get access to that data. And so we've changed how you look it up over the years. Like initially you had to go through a catalog, and so doesn't matter, every manufacturer may label their parts or their panels differently, and so there's not we like to standardize things in Mobile Tech to make it easy. Like, hey, right front door, belt molding, and that's what I need. And so when you go in and you start going through the OEM procedure, you have to actually click on the body category, then you have to scroll down and find the category that fits that, and it may be called something different based on the manufacturer. And then once you get in there, you have to find the part. And so you could always find the part that way. And then we thought, okay, let's make this easier. Let's leverage the search feature, and let's let you just tap on right front door belt molding, and we'll do a deep search and just try to immediately show you the results you need, saving you a couple steps. That was the intention. And but when we did that, it's kind of hidden, but we left the ability to still browse by category up at the top. Okay. And so we got, some people liked the new way we did it because they were having a high success rate of
narrowed it down at least,
having one thing. And then you got some folks who don't like it because maybe the search results for the maybe belt moldings always return what you need really quickly, but maybe other parts it didn't on the search results. And so Some folks say, "Oh, the parts aren't there, we can't find it." And when we dig into it, it's like, well, if you can't find it, just go press the back button and tap on Browse by category, and now tell us if you can find it. And then we can't because it's in there. So we have to make a decision on whether we should go back to Browse by category being the primary, and then let you search, or maybe tweaking the UI to make it clear you have this other option. Like, there might be ways we can improve that. But I think that complaint boils down to searching versus browsing by
categories. Yeah. And can we just like add to the fact, like take a big picture step back, like parts ordering in general is not an easy thing. Like the wrong parts, calling the parts department to get the part, and they have to look at the diagram and they're like, which piece are you talking about? Is it painted, not painted, this piece, that piece, blah, blah, blah. Like, I've been to enough body shops over the years where they have an entire person that all they do is order parts. That's all they do is order parts, and they still screw it up. So, and we're expecting this app to just do it all for us and make it easy and never have a problem. So,
the actual
high expectation
process of ordering the part, I am well aware that there's ways to improve that. But the problem is
picking the right part.
We have a partner there, and we're limited to what's provided to us through that partnership. And so, like, in a perfect world, all your business info and your tax ID would be saved. You'd have the option for pickup if you wanted to. Right now it's really set up to where you'd have to go in and manually put in your information. And have it delivered to you. And so sometimes there's free delivery, sometimes there's not. So we have quite a few things that if we could work with our partner on, it would make that like a really slick experience. Because a lot of times we are actually offering a better price than you would get if you were to call the dealership directly, because we're participating in like this bulk partnership. And so it'd be great to solve that. But like I said, that's out of our control.
That's good to know. I mean, you want to spend a little extra time to go through that. I mean, I call the dealer, I get the quote, I put it in Mobile TechRX, I'm done. It's the list price, cost price. They have my seller's permit and whatnot on file. I do it that way. But I might spend, if I can save money on parts and still charge the same amount, I might maybe go through the Mobile TechRX system. I mean, time's money. But if you're ordering enough parts, might be worthwhile. That's good to know. I didn't know that.
We get people all the time that are like, hey, I want to order this part, but I've done it before, and like it took a while to get here, or with the shipping cost, it wasn't worth it, or I couldn't give them my tax ID number. And they're like, I call the dealership that's in the system, and they tell me they can't match that price. I was like, so.
There you go. Interesting. Yeah, and again, like most of us are small businesses. I know that if I have 6 employees, and I know that if I have to order parts, I'm the one that orders parts. So it's still like we're still a small business. It's still going to be a struggle. Ordering parts is not just going to be like a, done. Maybe someday we can take a video of the car and just the AI will order parts for us if they see it damaged. I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, there's lots of companies working on that.
I know. Take a picture and be like, fix this. All right, Ryan, I got more unless you got one that you want to bring up. I got a whole list here.
Yeah, go down the list. I'll keep grabbing.
Scheduling, just one word. Like there's a scheduling app, or the scheduling portion inside of Mobile TechRX. I have never personally used that because before there was a scheduling portion inside of Mobile TechRX, I had a CRM system. And I know that I personally know that, and other people know that because it's been announced that the CRM system that I use is partnering up with Mobile TechRX. And as we speak, or this week or the next week, the coming weeks, they're with Zapier integration are now working together to make the scheduling function inside Mobile TechRX. If you're using the CRM system, in my opinion, significantly better.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. We, instead of going down the route of like making our own CRM functionality,
right?
Like there's billion-dollar softwares that have specialized
figured that out.
Do amazing things. So there's just some like basic CRM stuff you can do in mobile tech, with like
automatic text.
Yeah, which are great and people should be leveraging. But like if you want to go next level, especially if you have a shop, you should be a dedicated CRM tool.
Yeah.
And so now, if you do that, if you are doing that now, or you're going to do that, you don't have to double enter everything anymore, because you can now integrate through Zapier.
So excited.
And you can connect your data to Go High Level, to Shop Launch, to MailChimp if you want, or it's pretty crazy the stuff you can do with
I'm excited.
There's just like unlimited options as far as getting your data in and out, and kind of the sky's the limit. But
yeah, go ahead.
I guess there's two things. There's CRM, and then there's scheduling. It's hard. I don't know what to say based on just one word, scheduling, but we do have a calendar feature that allows you to schedule jobs, and it's pretty robust. And we have identified some things we can do to improve it, and we actually have there's another thread on another group that someone kind of mentioned, like, hey, let's everyone come up with ways to improve the Mobile TechRX calendar. And I've been monitoring that, and we've taken some of that feedback, and we're going to put together a body of work just around making improvements. But even what we do have is pretty strong. But yeah, we'll keep making that better too.
Yeah. And so here's the way I see it, from like Ryan and I are always trying to help different levels of business in Ryan and I have a little bit bigger businesses as far as PDR goes. And a lot of people don't. So if you are a solo guy out there on your own, and you maybe feel like you don't need a full CRM system, you can make the case that you don't. Then you can use the Mobile TechRX scheduling. Get the base level, or I don't know if it comes to the base level, whatever level you need, mid, small, medium, or large, whatever, get that one. And then use the scheduling inside of there. It's simple. It works. You can send an automated text to somebody. Very straightforward. If you have multiple texts like Ryan and I, and multiple services, and a shop, maybe even potentially multiple shops, then upgrading with another SaaS, another software as a service with the CRM system. Now you take Mobile TechRX, SaaS, CRM software. Those two things talk to each other. And now you're, more complicated. Your business grows. You have a more outlay of money, but it makes things simpler. That's the way I see it. Is that a fair way to approach that?
Even the calendar feature is in the very first, the $39 plan.
Okay, perfect. Okay, perfect. Yep. Nice. Well, there you go. So yeah, if you're new and money is, you're not able to spend software money on Mobile TechRX and Shop Launch and all that stuff, then use the integrated one. But if you want the better user experience, then you also get the Shop Launch or the CRM system and use that too. So, and now that's an option. Now it's an option.
And it's only $39 a month to like not have to write paper invoices.
Yeah, dude, that's a
schedule
guarantee. You have to do.
You can still do credit card processing. You can do most of everything. It's just for $39. I'm like, man, you couldn't buy a pack of invoices for that.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, literally just replacing paper invoices, like the actual, for sure. Especially because it's probably hard to find someone to make carbon copies now, I'd imagine. I mean, I wouldn't know who I would call for that. I don't know if Staples does that anymore. I'm not sure. Canva, printed off Canva. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, so we'll go into that too, with all the integrating SaaSes. Is that how you say that? Integrating SaaSes. So we got Mobile TechRX, we got Shop Launch, but now we also use QuickBooks Online, QBO, which for a small business is super important to have all of that as far as taxes go. And that's another SaaS that has always been integrated with Mobile TechRX. No, we gotta leave. I'm at home, and my kids are still off spring break. And so another SaaS that Mobile TechRX is always communicated with, but we got some complaints that it doesn't always work perfectly as well. So, what about Mobile TechRX and QBO?
That thread, and Melissa Fetty was one of I think the original poster on that. So
and
I actually
Amanda
met with her last week.
Cool. Nice.
To kind of just hear more.
Yeah.
Again, I'm like totally open to jumping on a call and like hearing more details, and so this was an interesting one because the complaint was sales tax wasn't being sent over, and so I think we figured out, waiting on like confirmation from her to say that was it, but there's a setting. We've built out our QuickBooks feature pretty heavily over the years. It used to be kind of like a standard, and so now you have all these options of like syncing your taxes over and changing the style in which you send stuff over, and you have to be on a particular setting toggled on in order to have the ability to send sales tax over. And then once you have that method on, it's called the expanded sync. Then there's
I saw that
the ability to turn on and off sales tax.
And that's in the highest model only, I believe.
Correct. Yeah.
Yes.
That's the whole point of our setting up our pricing plans was, to your point, like you're starting, a new business.
Yeah. You get,
really cost, we're at your cost more than anything, but you want to have like at least the base functionality. And then as you grow and you're making more money and you need more functionality, you would kind of naturally upsell yourself into standard and pro, and
makes sense.
The values there. If you're using all the stuff in the packages, that you should feel like you're getting.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, like you're not required to have a seller's permit and collect tax and repay it. What I did for a while, because I don't run hailstorms, I wasn't ordering a ton of parts. But now over the last year, as I've transformed my business, I do a lot more insurance claims now. I do a lot more parts replacements. Before, when I was doing like one a month, I just bought them retail. I just paid the tax on it and ate it. I'm like, it's $27 after ordering 2 parts at 8% or whatever. I'll just pay for it, and then I don't have to track it. I don't have to upgrade Mobile TechRX. I don't have to like make it work on QuickBooks, but pay the government every quarter, all that stuff. But now that I'm doing so many more insurance claims, and I'm like, last month I ordered like over $8,000 of the parts. I was like, all right, I'm gonna do this now. So that you have options to work your way up. If you ordered a part one time, you don't have to get the highest level of Mobile TechRX. Just go in, call retail, pay tax on the part, call it a day.
Yeah.
That's how I would say it.
Yeah. The QuickBooks stuff, it should be operating smoothly. Maybe there's an occasional person here or there that has a snag with it, but like, there's, just tens and thousands of documents flowing through QuickBooks and problem free. So it should be fine. So if you have something like sales tax not working, we can jump on a call, and hopefully it's as simple as you had a toggle in the settings that wasn't turned on. If it's more than that, we'll look into it. And sometimes you have to actually make sure your sales tax is set up in QuickBooks, and the rate matches the one from the invoice coming from Mobile Tech. Sometimes it gets a little more nuanced, but like, there's usually a resolution to it once you dive into it.
Yeah, I just last month literally switched to the tax and upgraded Mobile TechRX, and it's been a little bit of a pain in the ass about what I figured, because now I'm collecting tax and sending it in, which I've never had to do before in California, because we don't tax services, just the parts. So, but it hasn't been that big of a deal. I've probably spent a total of like an hour over the last month trying to figure it out, and it seems fairly smooth, because we have 2 separate. I click on Mobile TechRX that I'm taxing parts only and not service. And so inside of QuickBooks, I have all of my invoices that have come through that say non-taxable, and then I have a few that say taxable. And it's pretty straightforward. Nothing crazy. So, and I didn't want to make the change because I thought I was going to break something, because I know how to fix dents. I'm not the best on the tech side of stuff. So
yeah, there was a couple more QuickBooks related things. There was an issue, just taking too long to, you have 100 invoices you need to sync and having to click each one.
Yeah.
Why can't it just automatically sync?
Right.
And so we actually used to do automatic syncing, because that is,
I remember that
we could do, but then the problem with that is now you get people that are saying, whoa, hold on, like I need to reopen that invoice and make a change to it, but now I got to remember to go make the change in QuickBooks as well. And it caused more issues than you would imagine.
Yeah,
so
it still happens. I mean, that still happens there's still times where I had to change an invoice 2 weeks later, and we had closed and uploaded it, and you have to delete on both sides. This is normal bookkeeping stuff, though. Like, again, like the parts thing, like parts are hard to order. It's a pain in the butt. Mobile TechRX can help. Doing books is a pain in the ass. Like like you can hire a whole person just to do that. So it's a pain. It's not going to be super easy and perfect and like work every time. That's the way I see it. So when I have to delete on both sides, it doesn't feel that crazy. And you'll notice it, because when you go to match up the stuff on the back end, your Mobile TechRX number is going to be different than your QuickBooks number. And my office manager, who I have a person dedicated for that now, will call me and say, why are they different? And I'll look at it and be like, oh, I changed it. I had to reduce the price because whatever reason,
Also, could you imagine having to go find that paper copy invoice and then change it and then go back to your bookkeeper and say, we need to go back?
Can you re-data entry this? Yeah. It's improved over that. If you look at it that way, it's improved. If you look at it from an idealistic, everything should be perfect and my life should be easy, it's Mobile TechRX is not working. But it depends on what you're comparing it to. Yeah, you're totally right though. Yeah.
Yep.
I've literally spent so many hours of my life back in the day looking for an invoice in a box of carbon copied stuff, and I don't think people realize. I still use that because focusing on gratitude is important, focusing on things that are helpful is important, and because I have problems with Mobile TechRX too. It's not perfect all of the time, but every time I can't scan a VIN and I have to input it manually and it takes me 14 seconds, I'm like, this is way faster than looking for an invoice. Every single time, I'm like, I'll input every VIN if I have to, you know? So
let's talk
anyways,
about the VIN
yeah, there you
thing.
go. It leads into that one. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Sometimes VINs don't scan perfectly, Eric, and I would like you to fix that just by tomorrow.
Well, there's some truth there. Like Volvo, for example, it wasn't on the thread, but we have had some people say routinely they can't have Volvos, and so I was able to get some users to send video and text, and then we went out in person and tested it and kind of verified like the way they're printed. There's just I don't know if the lines are closer or what it is, but it does have issues with Volvos, and not all the time, but often, like, more times than not. And then
enough that if you worked at a Volvo dealer every Tuesday, you're hella annoyed.
Yeah. And then there's some people that with BMWs, something similar, not as common as Volvo, and so that's one of those things now that we have some examples to go after. Like we develop and maintain our own VIN scanner, and so we can go in there and do things to improve that. And so that's one of the things we're working on, and we use that VIN scanner across multiple products over here, and so it's definitely something that we're going to look at.
Yeah. I've noticed that if more and more cars now have a QR code printed on the windshield VIN, I never have a problem with that one. The QR code scan seems to be better for whatever reason than the actual VIN. So I always check if I'm walking around to look. I always check and see if that's there first for whatever that's worth. But I don't know why it's easier to do the QR code.
Some cars got rid of the barcode.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, like just QR.
You don't have a barcode; it's just a QR. And I think that is more.
That's coming
to cameras. And then we also added in the. You can just do the text OCR.
And I was about to ask about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
what's OCR mean, Eric?
Something character recognition, optical.
Character okay, gotcha. Okay, yeah. So reading the actual numbers instead of scanning the barcode.
Yeah, and that's a toggle you can turn on and off.
Yeah,
we've had a lot of people love it, but then some people, they'll do it enough where they'll get me frustrated because it'll pull characters that are in
S and 5 or whatever.
That's why we have that toggle there. It's like if you really like this feature, turn it off.
Yeah. There you go. Okay, good. Perfect. But all right.
That's something that we, sometimes it's hard to communicate all this to everybody because we'll get, support may hear something about that and have to train them. Oh, try doing that toggle. Oh, I didn't know that was an option. If you never contact us, we can't tell you anything.
Right. So what is the best way? There was some people said that, what did I write down here? I tried to call and I can't get a hold of anybody and no one helps me. Something like that.
That's a joke.
I can't call and get help. Well, that it was not a joke. I wrote, someone put it in there.
I know.
Yeah. So, I emailed last week and someone emailed me back the next day. I thought that was pretty good. What's the best way to do it?
Yeah, you should always hear back and get help.
Right.
Now, if you go back 10 years ago and even 8 years ago, if you were to call in, there was a good chance that someone would actually pick up the phone. And then as we get more and more users, we just have to get, it's rare you find tech support for a sizable company that is able to just answer the phone on the fly.
Correct.
Repairify by industry. But so we still have a line that you can call in. But typically our support team is in the middle of resolving a ticket. All throughout the day, they're busy resolving tickets, whether they're calling back or typing out a reply or texting back.
Sure.
So they don't answer the phone, and that's why, because they're in the middle of helping someone else, and it's just become more efficient to call someone back. So if you want to get a hold of us, you can call and leave a voicemail. You'll get a call back.
Yeah.
You can text also, and then you can request a call back on the text, or we can communicate via text.
Yeah, and just log into the back end, the portal on desktop, and all the numbers are there. or maybe even the app. I don't know.
Well, it's on the app as
Okay,
well.
there you go. Yeah.
I've always done the call back, dude. They call back. You keep pushing dents, and all of a sudden you get a phone call. It's like you almost forgot that you did it, and then it always gets back with you. So
Yeah. So
all right.
Oh
yeah, there you go. Go to settings, and it says
typically we'll get back same day too. And they do, the support team does have a system as far as like, trying to categorize urgency, and if there's something where it's an issue that's really causing you problems, they should be able to kind of categorize that and try to get back quicker. But I also want to say, like, anyone that does know me or friends with me on Facebook, like I would prefer you don't come to me first, but like if you have this issue and you don't want to wait for support to get back, like ping me on Facebook and I will escalate. If it's something that's affecting your business and
on real time,
like I will jump
in
for sure.
Awesome. I skipped this. I wanted to go back. We were talking about QuickBooks, all of our SaaS integrations, but another one. So we got Mobile Tech RX, we got CRM system, we got QuickBooks Online, then we got payment software. Some people, the payment software that is integrated into Mobile Tech RX, I believe, is Square. Is that right? Stripe. Okay, sorry, Stripe. So people use Square a lot. Stripe is integrated in Mobile Tech RX. I personally use QuickBook Payments, and I'll explain why. Because we just always did it, so it was easy. But I went to look into switching to Square, the one the one integrated into Mobile Tech RX. But the way that it shows up on the back end for QuickBooks is where people are frustrated. So Square will, if you take a payment for $100 and they take 3% out, these are not exact numbers, but if they take 3% out, you'll get a deposit of $97, and you have to match up $97 to a $100 invoice.
Right.
And if you're doing one invoice, fine. But if you're doing sometimes 12 invoices a day for us, and you didn't get to it that day, and it took you 3 days later, now you got 30 invoices you got to match, and you're like, holy shit. And they're all similar prices because we use a price guide. So we happen to fix a bunch of 1-inch dents. Anyways, so with my QuickBooks payments that I use, if I have a $100 invoice, they deposit $100 and then they deduct $3 as a separate transaction. So that's why I chose QuickBooks payments. Is that what your suggestion is, or is there a way to go around it with using the integrated Mobile Tech RX?
I feel your pain because when I was fixing dents,
there you go.
I used QuickBooks Go payment for the exact.
That's okay.
I'm well aware of that problem.
Got it.
We implemented this feature. That was my request to our engineering team, was to say, we need it to match up, and then deduct the money afterwards.
Right.
Kind of the response I got back was that that deducting from someone's bank account is a totally separate, even legal challenge.
Yeah.
As far as getting permissions and all that. And I was very
interesting.
Very much like you can setting it up to where we can, like, through Stripe, deposit money into your account. There's not a lot of hurdles there.
No one's mad about that.
You're gonna get permission to pull from your account. There's more to it. Like, and I don't know if it's like
I wonder if QuickBooks Online pulls money, or if they just show no, they pull money.
Yeah, so it is possible, obviously, because QuickBooks does. But I just know when our engineers looked into it, it was like, hey, if you want to go to market anytime soon with this, we need to do it this way. Yeah. So I was like, okay, if that's what we do, that's what we do. But now that we've got quite a few people using that feature, that was another thing too. Is like, we were worried about putting up so much time and energy into something that maybe people don't want this. Like,
right.
So a lot of times we'll do that. We'll kind of like get sort of an MVP out there. Let's just make sure that before we perfect something, let's make sure there's a need for it and a desire. So there is, like, we've grown our credit card processing base pretty heavily, and this is the number one kind of
concern
feedback we're getting. So like,
yes. So again, small business, retail, you're by yourself, you do maybe a couple retails a day, and you do wholesale and stuff, and you can match up invoices you match up invoices and you're like, I remember that one. Like it's that's okay. Use the integrated thing, super easy. But you're probably using QuickBooks Online anyways, because I feel like it's pretty much required for a small business really at this point. I know there's other options like FreshBooks or whatever, but QBO seems to be the best one. So,
well, I think a lot of people don't understand that, like, we're talking about a totally different system. Like, payment processing system's a POS system. It's like we're looking at an estimating, invoicing, work order software, which is Mobile Tech RX.
Yeah.
And they just have integrated that, but it's like
Yeah, it's just a SaaS
POS system is totally different, right?
Completely different. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. So anyways, that's an option is don't use the integrated payment system, I guess.
Yeah,
if you don't like it.
I mean, it is slick being able to be.
I use it.
Okay. All right.
If we can solve that one issue where we can
Yeah.
make it easier for you to match stuff up, then it's a big win. Because now also, whenever you send your invoices over to QuickBooks, if you're taking payment through Mobile Tech, it'll show paid in QuickBooks. Also.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice.
And then if it's that's like the missing piece of that puzzle.
Okay. All right.
I've said this a lot on this podcast. Like, hey, acknowledge that that's an area of improvement, and we are looking at it. And so there's a lot of stuff we're looking at, but that is another one. A lot of the stuff we're hitting on this podcast are things that we're looking at. Are our top priority items that are coming into this 10-week planning session that we're going into. So sometimes there's things that we're looking at where it's like, yeah, we'd like to do that sometime, someday. I mean, these are things that are more short term and it's helped, like having people mention their issues and validating it and talking to you about it. Like these are all things that really help like solidify our plan. So had we not had that long thread on Facebook and had we not reviewed some of the other stuff out there and talked about this, like some of this would have made it, but some of it might not have. So this has all been really helpful.
Sure. All right. We have what else I got? Adding motorcycle repair. There is a MTRX matrix, I believe, Daniel Grum's Moto matrix in there already, but it didn't. I guess the problem is that it shows a car still, I suppose. I don't know.
I think
you want to
that's
address that
what
one?
we ask is like, hey, can you show a motorcycle diagram instead of a car diagram? I think that's the problem because you're right. We do have a precedent matrix specifically for motorcycles.
And maybe people don't know they can change matrices, possibly.
Yeah.
Very possible.
Yeah. I mean, you wouldn't know unless you went in and kind of scrolled down.
Messed with it. Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess whoever had posted that, I guess make sure you check that out. And then it doesn't mean that we wouldn't do a matrix. We've been talking to Daniel about that for years. And he stopped bringing it up because he's brought it up so many times already.
Yeah.
We've already designed it. We have it all queued up. But when we talk about, prioritizing stuff, it just kept kind of getting bumped down. Like all the stuff we've talked about today, I would still put that, a lower priority.
Right. Yeah. I would agree with you because I do a motorcycle tank once every however long. I don't have a vise. So we're doing a fender today. So when I make it, I just click on the hood of the car and make an invoice and, we're a small business. Then what do you expect? That's kind of how I feel about it.
You can still go into the list panels and create a panel called
True. I could. Yeah.
And then use the motorcycle
matrix
precedent matrix to price it out. So you can, the reason that is down the list because there is a way to do it. It's just a little bit
right, a little bit extra.
I still would like to do that. I still would. I mean, I'm a big visual person too, and
it does nice. Yeah,
stuff like that annoys me. I would also like to see a diagram there.
Yeah.
Mechanical labor rates.
Yeah, that's where I was going. Read my mind.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a good excuse for not doing this yet. Like someone mentioned on there, like, hey, we've been talking about this for a long time, and like totally true. It's been on our to-do list for a long time. Whenever we get around to doing it, there just always ends up being kind of something else that gets bumped up to the top. But it's become more critical as more people are estimating and doing more R&I or more mechanical items to it. And so like I'm resurfacing this with our new product owner. There's only so much we can do in each one of our 10-week cycles, and so it's TBD on whether it's kind of this one coming up or the one after. But like this is something I'm committing to this year. And I think we'll probably end up kind of finalizing the product work for it in this next cycle and then kind of queuing it up for the development team afterwards. And there's different ways we can do this. We need to at least get something in there that allows you to do it. Even even if we don't do a full blown like the world's perfect, mechanical rates module or way to do it,
Right.
there needs to be some way to manage a rate that's for mechanical and to add items. We do have a list of kind of our default items and rates that we want to put in. So.
And because I guess Ryan and I've used the app so much, and I'm sure other people have too, but like I essentially all my mechanical stuff is subbed out anyways, like the except for the pre and post scan we do in house, but pre and post scan, calibrations, things like that. I use miscellaneous with I have preset packages in miscellaneous for pre-scan, post-scan, 360 radar cal, all that. And you can go on the back end, set those up super easily, have a preset, or you can just add it right at the moment. I have a near service fee for mobile, etc. Those are just pre-checked off options. Is that how you get over that, Ryan? Is that
Yeah, I just type in a miscellaneous note,
Yeah.
and then you can put notes at the bottom of that miscellaneous. So if
exactly
you just
like
put
this is what it is? Yeah,
disable battery, you can put at the bottom note that says mechanical
right.
at 150 an hour,
Yeah,
right? And then it
right.
explains everything for the insurance and the customer.
Perfect.
Which
Yeah,
is
so
fine if
miscellaneous
you're
ads. Yeah,
once in a while doing
correct.
that. We are users that on almost every estimate they're
Yeah,
putting
I have it on every estimate.
Yeah, I mean that's just not. I mean, I guess you can have like you can save a miscellaneous item, but still typing
Yep.
out that description is annoying. Like we need to
Yes.
we need to finally do something about that.
There you go. Perfect. All right. Sometimes the most recent year, make, and models don't always show up. I'll add to that now that I'm reading it. Like if you scan the VIN, I guess they're talking about the images don't show up. I think of the car, I guess, because it'll always give you year, make, model as far as I know. But I will
Yeah.
also add sometimes you have, well, one, you have to pick the paint color, and sometimes it's just generic paint color, sometimes it's actual paint codes. And I do a lot of paint touch up with paint codes now, so I've thought a lot about that lately. How does that get determined?
Yeah, and I followed up. That's what I thought too, and I had asked them what were they talking
Yeah,
about that, and I think they were actually talking about the comparative pricing feature, but it's
gotcha.
still worth mentioning because have been people that have complained about the vehicle
Correct.
images.
Yes.
So currently, if you scan a car through like the barcode or QR code, it should pull up, the year, make, model,
Mhm.
pretty much every time. Like
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
cars that just hit a lot, that should be up to date in real time.
Yeah.
As far as going through and manually choosing the year, make, and model, that's a list that we maintain, and that's something that sometimes we'll get behind on because, as I mentioned earlier on this podcast, that's largely a task. I'm the subject matter expert, then we kind of take on stuff like that. I also mentioned we have a hire now that's handling data, and so that's one of the things that's been taken off my plate. So you will start seeing that more up to date, and we've got I'm getting tied up here a little bit. So there's another thing related to that. It's not just the list of the year, make, model; it's the paint codes and the vehicle
Yeah.
images.
Yeah.
And so that has always been a manual process that's been really intensive because we have,
Mm.
for each year, make, and model, there may be duplicates based on the trim level of the car, and so we've had to always kind of curate that list and come up with a unique list of colors, and then convert those colors into the data that would allow you to see the paint codes and all that. And so that's always been a really manual, tedious process. We've been working for like the last 6 months on doing a full automation of that, and that's the development work's done. We had to finalize a licensing agreement, and we're going to be rolling that out hopefully by the end of this month at the earliest.
Nice.
Sometime in May.
That's
So
awesome.
once we're done with that, whether you scan the car or manually choose from the year, make, model list, you'll have kind of the pretty much up to date, real time access to the paint codes and the vehicle images, and they're going to be more specific images. So like if we can provide images specific to that trim level, then we'll even do that. Whereas right now
Cool.
it's more generic. So
Yeah.
that's a big update that will be coming out soon. It's a small thing on the user's end, like, oh, I just happen to notice there's more images, but that was quite a bit of work on our side. And
Yeah, I believe you. The paint code thing will be cool too. As Ryan and I have talked about, we're kind of moving into like lots of combo repairs, and I do the paint touch up now and all that stuff. So being able to pull the paint code off of there is actually awesome. So
Or-
that'll be cool.
You know,
or
CCC don't even do that. You can't even when you scan a VIN CCC, you have to manually put the PIN code in.
Yeah, you just have to look in. You just have to look for the pin code. So I don't even expect
Wow.
it, but if it can have it, that'd be great.
Right.
And I would always double check the pin code anyways. So even though I have it on there, I'm still just like confirming. I'm like, all right, it is right.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes we can narrow down the list, or if there really is only one option, then we'll show that one if we know it's what it is. But it's not in the VIN, and so most of the time
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
not to select one. But to your
Yeah.
point, sometimes we don't. We just show a generic list, and you'll start
Mhm.
seeing that
Yeah, it's just like white, red.
less and less.
Go ahead.
I want a couple more things on that. Just when we talk about like price, like for mobile tech, our costs are always going up. Like that's a really good example I like to give is that images used to be a pretty affordable thing. We would maybe spend about $5,000 a year on kind of a licensing agreement to show that, and now we're spending that much per month in order to show that. And so and that's just one example of all the different services we have, and
That why it gets expensive. Yeah.
Like our costs go up every single year, like
Yeah.
at least the rate of inflation, and which has been nuts lately.
Yeah,
So
for sure. Fascinating. All right.
And sorry, one last thing, because
No, keep going. Keep going.
comparative or the year make model thing, I think
Absolutely.
actually what that person was talking about was when you go to comparative pricing to look at X-ray photos or aluminum, high strength steel, all that stuff. I think they were saying some of the more recent stuff doesn't have like any data, and so that again, that hire we made is updating that stuff as we speak. We've had a bounty program out for a while that we've never actually marketed. We never really announced this. We kind of did it secretly, and just those who happen to see it could, if you're in front of a car and you've got the hood off, and we don't have a picture of it, you can just snap one real quick, and then we'll review it, put it into the system if it checks out, and we'll put a credit on your account. And so there's people that have been doing that.
Look at that.
And there's several people that have done it do it consistently enough that they don't even pay for mobile tech anymore because they do enough uploads that it just covers the cost of their subscription. But we're pretty.
So how much do you get back for it? Like $20 or something?
We do $10.
$10.
We tried doing 20 early on, and it was like overwhelming how many we got. So we just
fair enough. Yeah, $10 for any approved submission. Basically,
it could even be a tech note. Like, so you can get up to $30 a panel. Like you may see, oh, this is aluminum, and Mobile Tech didn't have it marked as aluminum. I also had a picture underneath, and I'm gonna leave a note saying, hey, the front is totally braced up. It's glue pull only. And then that's, you submitted a tech note, you submitted aluminum or high strength steel, and you submitted a photo. There's $30 worth of credit.
That's beautiful. Oh, that's beautiful.
So if you're a dent guy pushing a dent in a body shop, you can go in there and make some money. You just take a picture of all the cars that are in there if they don't have it.
Yeah. We had one.
Right, like if they have a quarter panel off of a car, I'd be snapping pictures of it for sure.
Right. Yeah. I mean, think $30.
Yeah.
Not bad.
I mean, yeah. We make it easy too, because you don't have to compose an email or anything. You're in the app.
Right.
We have it already laid out for you, hood, or, all the major panels, along with a button to upload, a picture of the X-ray photo or to type in the tech or whatever. So all you do is just tap a button, take the photo, and that's it. You're done.
That's on the highest plan. Also, comparative pricing.
That's a
program.
good point. You're correct. Like you can't see what's missing, what you need to add. Unless you have access to it. And so you do have to.
So if you want the Pro, but you can't afford it, then you just got to get the Pro and take a bunch of pictures and submit them, and then you'll be all right.
Yeah. Well, see, we're gonna do something here. Like as I said, we're catching up on all these submissions.
Yeah.
So we acknowledge the fact that some of the especially more recent cars are behind. We're going through an update on the replacement costs. We're going through an update of all the different tech notes and photos and metal makeup. And so once that gets to a point where we're ready to kind of promote it again, we're going to do a campaign where it's like, hey, if you're not on Pro, like try it for free for a month or two, so you can see what it's like. It's been a while since you tried it. Go check it out.
That's good stuff.
While you're in there, you have access to upload it.
There you go. Well, no. All right. I only have a couple more, so that's good. I know we're going long here, but this is what the people wanted. There is a button for all our wholesalers out there. Dave Shalott listening and some other guys. We know wholesale is dead, but there are a few people that still do it. If you guys don't understand that joke, then when you have an estimate, you got 15 cars that you did at the dealership, and then you turn them into a work order and then an invoice. You have to check off every single work order. You can't there's not a button to make all of those work orders automatically turn into an invoice, I guess.
Correct. When you can select all the work orders and create
Yes.
one invoice if you want, or
Right.
you can individually go into each work order and create an
Yes.
individual invoice.
Or skip work orders altogether.
You can go straight from estimate to invoice.
Like if you just go estimate and you just fix them all, and then you want to make an invoice, you just skip. You just got, but there's a toggle. You got to put a button on Mobile TechRX backend that you click that allows you to skip work orders.
You can do that now.
Yeah, no, yeah, you can do it now. I'm just saying, if people don't know that,
Oh,
maybe they
gotcha.
don't know that. You can just skip from estimate to invoice. You don't have to worry about that.
But I understand the problem is we got some folks who are the dealerships are requiring one car per invoice, and
Yes.
so they'll have 15 work orders,
Mhm.
and it's time consuming to
Mhm.
invoice each one. They want to be able to select all 15 and then have
Oh,
the
and make
option to put
individual.
these
Oh, I
all
see.
on
Yeah.
one or put these all on individual.
Got it. Yeah, that'd be
And
nice.
that would be one of those feature requests that just it's one of those that we'd like to do. It's always been kind of in the middle or lower priority, and
Yep.
so that what would help bubble that up to get done sooner is just more people requesting it. If
Yeah.
we have 5 people over the course of several years that say that would be nice to have, it's harder to justify. Every time we do something, there's an opportunity cost, and so we're if that is something I would like folks to maybe be a little bit more vocal that they need that. Every time
Are you saying
request, we do track it. It goes into a system where we're looking at the value it provides, how many times it's been asked for, how hard it is to do, and we kind of
Right.
to create the next work.
Are you saying to have one work order with multiple? I mean, yeah, one work order with multiple cars on it.
No.
No, multiple work orders.
So usually, like right now, you have 10 cars in an estimate. You turn them all into work orders. Now you have 10 work orders.
Mm-hmm.
The only option, if you can go and select all the work orders and turn them all into one invoice, or you can select a work order and turn that one car into one invoice. But you have to go back to work orders and turn car number 2 into a separate invoice. Car number 3 into his. There, people are saying like, can I just check off all 10 work orders and turn all 10 of them not into one invoice, but into 10 separate invoices?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's not. I mean, yeah,
That's the dealer's fault.
yeah. I have one dealership.
Yeah,
that
there's
does
one.
that to
We have
us,
one
so,
too, and it's just like it's kind of annoying, but like charge them $1 more per car. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's annoying, but
Hey,
yeah, something that can be fixed.
If everyone's got that one dealership, then that would be something that we would
That you guys fix, yeah,
sooner than later.
for sure.
Like, but if it's like a few people have that one dealership, that's a different problem.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, don't just go bitch to the dealership. Stop doing.
That's what I'm saying.
bitching
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, go tell them, hey, can I do? Like, maybe just ask them, hey, can I do this all in one invoice? Maybe they'll let you, and you just have done it that way for 5 years, so you don't know.
Right.
It's very possible. Very possible.
I will say when you send a statement off through Mobile Tech, the details of each invoice on the statement are shown on the statement
separately. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That may be the reason they're asking for it is
right. And so just like, hey, just wait, and most of them are going to pay off statements anyways, really 30 days later. So just like, hey, I'll send my statements on the first or whatever.
Well, the problem for the dealership is that you have an invoice number and you're trying to attach that one invoice number to 10 different vehicles. That's the problem that their accounting has, and they just don't understand to use A, B, C, D, E, F.
Yeah, exactly. At the end of the invoice. Yeah, for sure.
Right.
No doubt. Okay. People would like to be able to search for an estimate with I'll add other things instead of just a name, sometimes a phone number. I think the phone number was the specific one.
Yeah.
Being able to search for a customer by a phone number, not an estimate. Search for a customer by a phone number.
Yep. Yeah. We heard this at MTE.
Yeah.
There's one user in particular who, does work in Puerto Rico who have a lot of folks have the same first name and last name. And so he's like,
interesting.
Look up this customer. And
why is that funny, right?
I just look up their phone number. So that's what kind of brought it up. But then we've heard it a few other times as well.
Yeah.
And so that's something that's one of those what I would consider like a smaller, like whenever we do our sessions, we typically have like some bigger items that take up a lot of our resources that we kind of like fit in, kind of like, putting a puzzle piece together. Let's
Right.
to fit this in. That'll be one of those more like smaller items. If having it to where you can just search by like a ton of fields and having all the fields partial matching, like that at a certain point you can start having like performance issues, which is why
Yeah, sure.
limited now. But adding, I think, phone number, something more unique other than just a customer name, whether it be email or phone numbers, I think would be really helpful. So
I would say phone number because not everybody takes emails.
What's that?
I would say phone number because I don't think everybody takes emails, or some people don't want to give it. They're like, I don't want to give my email.
Claim number too, because when
That'd be
we're
cool.
running into that, it's like just type in the claim number and then the customer pops up. Because the insurance companies, they don't even half the time say the customer's name; they just go by claim number and that's it.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
One thing we did implement that's kind of one of those little Easter eggs, I guess, is you can search by like, I think if you put in like claim number : or something like, I need to go look.
Yeah, we need to figure that out. Yeah.
A prompt, a specific prompt.
You can do
a
that.
Techie prompt.
That was kind of the engineering solution for it. Was, hey, if you designate what field you're searching for, then it's not going to cause performance issues. And so that is in there for a majority of the fields. It's not in there for specifically phone client.
I think I saw that on the website. I had a problem with that as well, just like the search engine in general, trying to search. And I did come across that.
Interesting.
I don't know if it was a video or is in resource. Yeah, it's under resources and tutorials.
Yeah,
and it's somewhere in there.
Nice. All right. I think I have one. I have one last one, Ryan. Unless you have anything that I missed.
Yeah, how to use key search, how to use search keywords. It's in there, and I got all a little breakdown for you.
Perfect. That's cool. So there's maybe an answer, a little bit of a tricky answer. So I would say overall on like my post and talking to people and stuff, there are workarounds to these things. I feel like I've been just growing my company and so busy that if I find a problem, then I find a workaround. I just roll with it and don't spend too much time worrying about it. But I will say there was several people that are basically like, it's kind of a whole theme of like, Eric sold out. He's on a beach somewhere. He doesn't work anymore. To they sold to a big company. They don't care about us anymore. I liked it when a PDR tech ran Mobile Tech RX. To now they keep charging more, but they're not fixing my issues. Like that whole kind of like, I don't know if I can call that a theme. Basically, like they charge us more, but the user experience doesn't get any better. I guess I would say. So that's kind of like not a specific problem, but kind of like if people are going to, like you said, most users are fine and you're growing every year, but if there are people that are going to be upset, it's around that theme. So I would just throw that at you and see what you would say about that.
Yeah. I would say I get the optics of it. Like, you see Mobile Tech RX selling to, they sell their business.
A big company.
A larger company that buys it. And at the same time, shortly after, you feel like your price went up, and there's, when it's talked about on social media, there's not like a representative there, kind of like explaining things, and so I get the optics of it.
Yeah.
And maybe I could do a better job, trying to get myself involved and trying to explain our narrative so that people don't kind of create their own. Because the truth of the matter is
that's what we're doing right now.
Yeah. And so I need to just make sure that I'm more involved, because it really, nothing has changed. Like we have the tech support people that have been here for 8 years. We've got the primary engineer who initially wrote Mobile Tech is still here, still lives in Austin, still see him often, was just with him last week. The new hires that we made on engineering, engineer number 2, number 3, they're still with the company. Our sales staff, same sales staff we hired, back 6 years ago, 7 years ago. Like we're the same core people that work on Mobile Tech, and a lot of the decisions that are made are still coming from me, just as they were from before. And so we do have like extra support, and there is a little bit of more oversight, and there's some things that I can't like just make autonomous decision and implement like same day stuff.
Sure.
Some channels. So there's a little bit. We operate a little bit slower because of that, but largely nothing really has changed. And I think we haven't just haven't done a good job explaining that. Like when we're at trade shows and we get FaceTime and people get to come up and chat, and I get to introduce myself, as one of the founders and explain our story and everything. Like it's always amazing and incredible. It's hard to replicate that, to a broader audience.
For sure. All right.
And then
fair enough.
Pricing wise too, like why, I think there's ways we can do better there. Right now we put you in a corner and say, pick one of these plans. And I think if you're using all the features that are in the plan, it is a good value. Like I'll stand by that. But if you're paying for the $199 plan, for example, for one or two particular features, and there's this huge list of stuff that you're not using, then I get how it would feel expensive. And so
Yeah,
we are looking at breaking that up some more and making it to where you can really kind of pick what you really want and create more of a customized package, so you don't get that feeling of
a little bit a la carte, kind of, somewhat, not fully, but yeah.
Well, hopefully we could teach people how to utilize these features, because it is like, it's new, like everything's, people don't like new all the time, but if we can do anything to help with any type of feature, that's what we're going to be focusing on somewhat this year as well. So I'm excited to do it, because then I'm going to learn a lot. I'm sure Corey's going to learn a lot, and hopefully all of our viewers learn. So we'll be doing that.
Well, that's awesome. That was, I feel like we covered every concern. Oh, there's only one other concern, is that the email icon doesn't show up when you email it. So I never worried about that personally, but a couple people worried about that. Every other concern we pretty much covered. And so if you want to answer the email icon, great. And then if you want to talk about,
because I spoke to that user at TE, and followed up recently via text as well. Like we're looking at that. Yeah, there's a bug going on there, where it's sometimes showing up when it shouldn't. We've got engineers already looking at it. They think they've identified kind of what the logic that could kind of cause that.
Nice.
That's queued up on that short list for this upcoming cycle we're working on.
Beautiful. Do you want to talk about I know we talked about the big announcement that I've talked about and Ryan has in podcast, and is the Mobile TechRX integrating with Shop Launch or Go High Level. And there's more information coming out about that. That will be our next live podcast. And the owner of, or the person who runs Shop Launch, Matt Heidinger, he's been on this podcast before, will be there to talk about it as well. I don't believe you will be, Eric, but you don't need to be. He'll be there. Are there any other announcements that you want to talk about down the line that people can look forward to?
Let's see. I think that'll be kind of the next big feature that we come out with is Zapier integration.
Yes, sir.
But then probably not too far past that, like maybe 30 days afterwards, there'll be a Blue Driver integration. This is another one of kind of the perks of getting acquired, is we've got some sister companies now, one of which is Blue Driver. And if you don't know what that is, it's a size of smaller than a wallet. It's a OBD2 tool that you plug in, and it connects via Bluetooth, and it will do a pre or post scan on the vehicle and let you know all the codes that are thrown. And so it's just a lot of folks are doing this now, and if you're not doing it, you should be doing it on most of the cars that you're working on. Just kind of a cover your ass. Two things: cover your ass, what it was like before you worked on it. Make sure you didn't throw anything after.
Yeah.
But also there's some resources in there to help you clear the codes as well. And so that is going to be an integration to Mobile Tech, where you can initiate.
That's going to be exciting.
You're in Mobile Tech, you can initiate the scan, it'll connect to the Bluetooth device, you'll see the status in the app, you can minimize it, go do other stuff in the app, come back when it's done, and then see the results, see common fixes for the results, have it printed out in a nice document that you can attach to the customer if you want. When you do a post scan, you won't have to scour a before and an after to see why does this one have 9 codes, this one has 10, and what is the 10th one. We'll bring that to light. We'll highlight it for you. So there's gonna be a really nice, slick experience doing pre and post scans.
That's beautiful.
Inside the application.
And we'll do an entire podcast about that, about pre and post scans, about calibrations, ADOS, the list goes on. We'll do an entire hour and a half on just that as well. But that'll be really cool. I don't think most people know about that unless they talk to you at MTE, because you were passing it around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a few more I'll mention is our reporting. So we've been, slowly tinkering and building out like a more advanced reporting feature. If you remember back in the day, we had an advanced reporting analytics feature that was a little bit slow and clunky based on the software that we integrated with. So we decided to build our own, and so we've been slowly pushing that out. There's a clients report that was recently released. We've got a sales report coming out soon. These are all going to give like really slick ways to kind of look at your
Nice.
data and hopefully give you insights to make more money. So those will
What
be
about statements?
What's that?
What about statements? Like being able to send statements in from the back portal. I've gotten that question quite a bit.
Do you use QuickBooks Online for that, Ryan?
No, I have to go on the iPad or my phone and
Oh,
send the
interesting.
statements in from that.
I use QuickBooks. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. It's just easier to do it from the app, but if my bookkeeper, like we're about to start training her, I have to train her on the iPad and the back, you know what I mean? So
So you're saying being able to send statements from your phone?
no, you can do that now. You can't do it you can't print or upload a statement from the back from the admin
from the
portal.
desk. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had the common request would be for that, and also the calendar feature in the admin portal. So
got it. Yeah.
those are ones that we're starting to get enough requests to where it's kind of bubbling up.
Nice.
I think
There
it's
you go.
still behind.
Keep talking. Keep talking, guys. Make some noise.
I mean, it really does matter, like hearing people say what they want. Like in a perfect world, every single user would tell you what they want, and then you'd have all the data you need to know what you should do.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And going into Facebook and just throwing it on a Facebook post isn't how you do it. Right. So you can
tag it, then it'll get in our repository. But if
would the easiest way be to just shoot a text, or how do you do that other than Facebook?
Yeah, the easiest way would be a text, but then if I gave everybody my number, I would be
no, like the text.
You said you could text Mobile Tech RX, right?
Yeah, there's lots of folks have ended up with my number, and I do get quite a bit of calls, which I gladly answer still. Yeah, texting. Yeah, the easiest way would be to just text our support desk. All feature requests that I happen to see online, I enter in our system. Anything you send to support gets funneled in.
Do you know the number off the top of your head? Everyone's listening on their phones right now. They can pull out their contacts list as I talk and hit the plus button and put Mobile Tech RX Tech Support, and then you can put the number in.
626-6750. Or you can email help@mobiletechrx.com.
Yeah, that's the number I got, 626-6750. Yeah, and then if you go on the app and click on the hamburger and click on settings at the very bottom, it has that phone number, 888-626-6750, and the email.
You could actually click it.
You can just click on it, it'll email. That's as easy as it comes. You can't get easier than that. Can't get easier than that. Perfect. Well, that was great. Anything else you want to add before we hang it up? This might be our longest podcast ever, right?
Two more things.
Good.
One is, if you do work for enterprise, you probably know it's a pain in the ass to either have to go sign up for CCC or Mitchell to like submit your estimates, or to download them from Mobile Tech and go into like a third-party portal and upload everything there. We're happy to announce that we're working directly with them to have a direct integration where you can submit directly within Mobile Tech.
Nice.
Have all everything you need sent over, and when this is fully built out, getting back decisions, approval or not, all through the system as well. So that's being worked on right now, and we've got thousands of users who do work for enterprise, and so this is
nice.
A handful of folks.
That's awesome.
People that will benefit from this. And then the last one, which is similar, is a product we've been building on the side. It's kind of like a sister product called the Repair Exchange. And so this is where we've been working on quite a bit, kind of behind the scenes. You're wondering what we're doing. A lot of it has been with this, and it's basically a kind of like a marketplace that's going to allow you to interact with the people you're already doing work with in a more seamless manner. And so what I mean by that is, think about a dealership that you do work for. Imagine them having the ability to go in and assign you there's some dealerships you do work at where they may have a list of cars you need to do already. So if you could see that list in advance and have access to how much work you're going to have to do this week at this location and what the type of work is that you're doing, being able to go in and, immediately just go to work on those vehicles. If you need to request more money, having a way to kind of do that within the application and have everything inside of the same ecosystem and get approval on that. And when you're complete, don't worry about sending off invoices or POs because all that's done for you automatically. Like just connecting the job supplier side and the job repair side. And our intention there is to, you're already doing work for a lot of, dealerships, body shops, auctions. What can we do to just make that easier, more efficient, for both sides? So we've got some pilots underway where we've got, dealerships who are, leveraging this exchange and, vendors, users who are on the other side. And it's been like really positive feedback. It's been pretty awesome. And so
that's cool.
Kind of going through, we did a ton of time, over a year in development for that. And then now we're kind of starting to dip our toe into the beta testing and, that should start kind of expanding in the coming years. And
I like that. Well, I like having a little bit of a competitive advantage over the older school or the more not legitimate businesses, fly by night kind of wholesale guys. If you're integrated into their system, it's a lot harder to have some guy come in and charge $5 less and get the account straight up.
Yeah.
That's
we
cool.
all get the calls from the dealership managers. Like I'm getting one right now that they're sending you photos in trying to find out how much it's going to be to fix this car.
Right.
Like
yeah.
that integrates into that somehow where you could just update the price and they can
just send a request and you click the number, you say this is the price, and then they either keep it, wholesale it, whatever, approve it right there. That's cool. All right. Nice. I did not know about that. Neat. Can't wait. Very cool. All right. Well, no one joined live. All the haters didn't have time today for you, Eric. They just wanted to make the post after Easter too. So there's probably a lot of people that are not working, I would imagine.
I mean, we've been talking for 2 hours without, just through this content. I mean, if we had an audience, then this thing may have went too long.
Oh, it would have been multiple hours. Yeah, it did work out for sure.
Everyone's got an opportunity to go kind of listen in at their own time.
Yeah. And there will be a lot of downloads on this, a lot of downloads. So if you made it to the end, there will be 11 more episodes. Eric will not be on every single one of them, but we will be covering a lot of things that, one, make your business better, and two, how Mobile TechRX is going to help change the industry and how we can integrate it, learn more about it, make more money using it, and then continue to help solve these problems. So it'll be cool to look back in a year from now after we do the 12 episodes and see how far we've come off this episode. That'll be fun. That'll be a good point in the sand, line in the sand to see where it changed. So I appreciate you, Eric, doing it. I think this helps prove that, you're not too big to care about us, I guess. And so, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Eric.
Thanks guys for having me on.
For sure. It's fun times. All right, guys. Until the next one, follow Ryan Brewer on Facebook. Follow me on Facebook. Follow the Masters of Recon Facebook group. That's how you will know when and where the lives are and the links. Ryan, side note, we got to discuss how to make it live on Facebook. I know it's easy. I know it's an easy problem to solve. It's not like a big discussion. It's easy to solve, but maybe we'll have to integrate that too, because I think it's just easier for people to join there. But we can discuss that too. So anyways, thank you guys. We'll see you on the next one.
Peace. See ya.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Masters of Recon podcast. If you're getting value from this podcast, then please subscribe to the show and give us a review so others can find our show as well. And if you haven't joined the discussion yet, then go find us over at Masters of Recon Facebook group to join the weekly discussion. See you all next time.